Hello and welcome to another Say Hi Paul Warhammer 40,000 9th edition battle report. So for those of you who are familiar with what I do, my videos have a particular style. I tend to talk through what I'm doing and let you know my thought process. They're kind of rambly, not particularly well edited, and I go off on random tangents. If you want to know more details about what I do and why I do it, there is a video on the channel called Welcome that explains a lot more about it. What else do I need to tell you? Yes, the other big thing that you may or may not be familiar with is in my games of Warhammer 40,000, I have house rules. Again, there is a video that goes into details about this called Thoughts on 9th Edition and House Rules that explains my reason and rationale for all of them. But I will nip through the ones now that I think are going to be relevant during the game. I don't play any cap on the amount of modifiers on hit and wound modifier rolls. I ignore the coherency check rule. I don't do command point rerolls. I don't limit the number of times a stratagem can be used in a particular phase. And whenever characters are near units, I let them charge together. If that becomes relevant, we'll go into that as and when. So, the story. Oh, zoom out. Yeah, that's right, professional. Yeah. So, for those of you who haven't seen Chapter 1 of Fulminators versus Night Lords, I am playing these games against myself because of my personal COVID-related circumstances. I can't have any opponents around at the moment, so I am scratching the hobby itch by playing these games against myself. That means I have to think about the rounds I'm playing and only the rounds I'm playing. I have to try and work out how to be impartial and really get into my own head about what I would or wouldn't be doing. And if I just can't work out what I would or wouldn't do, I'll let the dice decide. Which actually came up in the last game. There was a real borderline move and it made a difference of 5 points and I couldn't work out which way to call it, so I let the dice decide. So, if you haven't seen Chapter 1, spoiler alert, this is the first part of Chapter 2. So, why do I say the first part of Chapter 2? Well, we are on the world of Archimedes IX, an industrial production world on the eastern fringes, where the eastern fringes meet the edges of the Citrix Maledictum, and the other thing that I'm honestly not going to look up on a bit of paper right now because I can't remember. Ultramar, that's the one. Yeah, Ultramar, that thing. How could I forget Ultramar? Where the eastern fringes meet Ultramar and the Citrix Maledictum. It's a very valuable world because of its industrial output. So this is why the Night Lords have chosen it as a choice target for raiding and pillaging and generally destroying Imperial infrastructure and resupplying, as is basically their mission statement. The Fulminators Crusade fleet, or at least an element of it, the 5th Company Fulminators, have tracked them down and intercepted them. In the last battle, the Night Lords were raiding a supply depot, and they were comprehensively driven off by the Fulminators. Now, at this point in time, the Night Lords could have backed away. They could. I'm not going for the paper again, honestly. I don't need to look up names. I honestly know it all off the top of my head. I don't really! So, after the last... Get it out of shot. Yeah, professional, that's right. So, after the defeat, the Talon Master of the 53rd Night Lord's Talon could very easily have evac from the planet and just moved off. But he has seen opportunity. An opportunity to draw these Imperial lapdogs out into an extended campaign. So rather than evacing from the surface of the planet, he has told his forces to scatter, draw the Imperial dogs in, and lay waste to them. Lay the traps. sacrifice the population, make them vulnerable, hit them where it hurts, and give enough time to land more forces in order to try and destroy this crusade element. So that is the game that Narivok, the Talon Master of the 53rd Talon Night Lords, is playing. So what you're seeing here, you can see, obviously, this is a 4 foot by 4 foot table. It isn't a little bit of wilderness with some tarmac and a book next to it. No. What we're doing is I'm going to play 3 combat patrols that all occur pretty much simultaneously in the direct aftermath of Chapter 1. So this is Chapter 2, Part 1. There will also be a Part 2, Part 3. And I've constructed these combat patrols out of elements of the Night Lords that have fled and other elements that would have been on the planet already, and of the victorious elements of the Fulminators and other forces that they would be able to land, because they have superiority from that first mission. So different parts of the Night Lords have gone to different areas. And I won't go through them all in this video. I'll go through what each combat patrol is and what the scenario is with each one. So you may actually hear me saying this bit a few times. In this particular mission today, in Part 1, we are playing Sweep and Clear, which is a narrative mission from the main rulebook, which is a 4-objective mission. It's on a smaller board, so as is tradition for combat patrols, he says tradition because I used to play these back in 4th Ed, when they were a thing in 4th Ed, it's on a 4x4 board. Now, Sweep and Clear is a 4-objective game. There is a 6-inch corridor down the middle of the table that must have 2 objectives in it, and there must be 1 in one deployment zone and 1 in another, which is the usual sort of fare for these mission-based games. You get 5 points for holding a single objective, 5 points for having more objectives than your opponent, but also 5 points if you control your opponent's objective, the objective in their deployment zone. So a big part of this is going to be the choice of sides and the placing of objectives. Who doesn't want what to go where? So I will get onto that in a short while, whilst after we've talked about the armies, I'll talk you through the objective placement as well as the deployment. So, in terms of the battlefield, terrain rules. So these burnt-out tanks from a long-forgotten conflict on the planet's surface are, obstacles. So if you're within 3 inches of them, you'll get the cover as long as the model's partially obscured. All these little areas count as terrain. They're going to be... this has got the trait which means you can't walk on it. I'm going to say you can't walk on these because even though you can stand some models on them, they're kind of rusty and brittle and they'll give way and there might be toxic stuff still in there and, Geiger counters going off because of exposed fuel cells and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, no walking on the tanks. These bits are... I can't remember the names of the traits, but they'll get shooting through them -1 to hit. And they're difficult terrain, so -2 inches moving through them. And that's going to apply to all of these terrain. These are all difficult, and they're all obscuring. That's the word. With the exception of this one in the middle. This isn't obscuring. This is the other one, because it's more than 5 inches high. It's blocks line of sight. The entire footprint of this rubble obscures line of sight going through. So this might be a sort of pivotal cat and mousey bit of the battlefield. Whereas these ones, even though they're ruins, because they are relatively old terrain and not built for 9th Ed as such, they're not 5 inches high, so you can see through them. I try very hard, as much as I can, to stick to the 9th edition rule set and only tweak it where I feel I absolutely have to. Again, please see that video if you want to understand my rationale for why I do that. If that's not your thing, this probably isn't the video for you. Thank you for getting this far, but you probably won't enjoy it if you don't like that kind of thing, so maybe this isn't one you want to watch. if you're still here, that's the terrain. The objectives will go in a little while. So let's go and look at and talk through the armies. Okay, so here we have the Fulminators Combat Patrol, and it is an unusual combat patrol. So, this is Second Squad, and in the previous game, 4 members of Second Squad survived, and one of them has been patched up by the Apothecary. Apothecary Straben has also patched up Lieutenant Feldor, who was removed as a casualty in the last game after an unfortunate encounter with a Contemptor Dreadnought. Zoomy. But he has been thoroughly gone over by Straben and is fighting fit and raring to hunt down these heretics. So, one thing I don't think I mentioned in the introduction is I've written all these 3 lists already, and I've written them very thematically. The other thing I've done is then randomised which lists will go against which list, which Fulminator list will go against which Night Lord's list, and play which scenario. I've covered that in my latest hobby vlog. There's more, if that's something that interests you, there's more information in there. Oh, I should have turned it around, it's not facing the camera now. There's more information in there. I'm not sure when that goes up. It might be before this, it might be after this, but it will be episode 3 that covers that for those who are interested. So I decided that one of the patrols would be some of the surviving Marines climbing into a transport and pursuing. I don't have any impulsors. I've only got repulsors. So this is all I can. I wanted some Inceptors dropping in, but just don't have the points because these repulsors are super expensive, and that's because they've got all the guns. They're high toughness. They're difficult to charge against. They've got lots of wounds. That's a las cannon. That's a twin las cannon. That's an onslaught Gatling cannon. They're heavy stubbers. Those are auto launchers, fragstorm grenade launchers, crackstorm grenade launchers, Icarus iron hail debris. There's a lot there, but in a game this small, is that going to be the thing? It's just one unit, and if it gets taken down, it gets taken down, and that's most of the Fulminator's army gone. And they don't necessarily have a huge amount of board cover. At most, there are 3 units, at absolute most. And because I'm playing this narratively, pretty much the Marines will start in the repulsor and only get out if the situation dictates that they should, because why would they get out of the tank of death that should just be able to mow the heretics down, unless there's a specific reason to? So, we shall see. So, in terms of chapter traits, my Fulminators are not inheritors of the Primarch. They are Ultramarine successors, but they're not inheritors of the Primarch. They use 2 traits. Bolt of Fusillade, because they represent the best of the best Terran Guard recruits in M32. And Preferred Enemy Traitors, because they were soldiers during the Scouring, and then they were awoken during the Indomitus Crusade, and they have been fighting the Indomitus Crusade against the traitors ever since. Lieutenant Feldor is the commander. He has the Warlord trait. Oh, I'll zoom in on him. Yeah, go on, zoom in. There we go. Ooh, zoomy. He has the Warlord trait, Rights of War. Of the 2 lieutenants in the 5th Company, he is by far the most level-headed and stoic. Rights of War gives him 2 abilities. It gives him an aura within 6 inches. That means that friendly Fulminator units automatically pass morale tests. Very handy against Night Lords. And it gives him the OBSEC rules. He can claim objectives as if he were a troop choice. He also carries the Bellicose Bolt Rifle relic, and I'll come on to the specifics of that should it become relevant. Other than that, there's not an awful lot to say about this Fulminator's army. It has a lot of inherent strength, but also a lot of inherent weakness. And the dice have meant that it is up against a number of heavy weapons, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. So I've probably forgotten something, but assuming for the moment I haven't, let's look at the Night Lords. So here we have the Night Lords Combat Patrol. So they fared less well out of the previous battle. They got quite a mauling. This patrol is being led by Vinkov, the Talon Champion. This chap, he has a plasma pistol and a power fist. And he's not going into focus. Come on, focus, mister. Okay, so, he normally is, he is a member of First Claw and doesn't normally operate totally independently as a character. First Claw is a unit of Chosen and 2 characters that I use as a single unit. However, they were quite badly mauled, and Vinkov, the Talon Champion, actually had a statue dropped on him, but he's managed to, he was recovered from the site afterwards, and his superhuman, his superhuman physiology has gone into overdrive and healed the majority of the damage, so he is fighting fit. The remainder of the Chosen have gone off with Mirak the Executioner to do something slightly different, which will be covered in one of the other combat patrols. But he has elected to rally some forces together and lay a trap for some of the contemptible Fulminators. So with him, we have a unit of Raptors of the Bloodied Maw cult. These Raptors are known as the Bile Drinkers. It's fair to say they had a bad day last time, and I choose to believe that many of them were driven off rather than being shot to oblivion the second their feet touched the board. So, it's 6 Raptors, 1 has a plasma pistol, and there's 1 set of lightning claws on the champion. Here we have some of the units of 8th Claw. Sorry, had to get the claw number right. Some of the surviving members of 8th Claw. Most of these guys lasted pretty well last time, all things considered, considering they were quite aggressively aggressed. But they managed to crawl into their Rhino for safety until their Rhino was, let's say, disabled rather than exploding. Although I think it did technically explode. Yeah, anyway, they're all right now. They've managed to patch their armour up. Some of their wounds have started to heal. If you read the books, their physiology, they can be down and unconscious 1 minute, and then their metabolism goes into overdrive, and they can be fighting fit the next. All they need to do is swap a couple of gauntlets, shoulder pads for those of their dead comrades, and they're fighting fit. So, it's a unit of 7 Chaos Marines. Champion's got a chain axe and a plasma pistol, and there's an autocannon. And there is a mix of close combat weapons and bolters in there. And then, finally, we have 9th Claw, which is a unit of Havocs. They also had a bad day last time. Their armour got thoroughly peppered with onslaught cannons, but the initial shock of them going down, they've been able to recover, repair, and are in a position to fight again. I suspect I'm going to be saying words like recover, repair, enhanced physiology, metabolic overdrive quite a lot over the course of these games, because technically there's a finite number of models here, so we have to flange it a little bit, and very few people actually die. Of course, the Fulminators can die because they've got reserve companies to draw from, so yeah, narratively speaking, they can drop like flies. And these boys kind of all have to survive. Bit of a flaw, but we'll gloss over that. So, oh yes, Vinkov's Warlord Traits and stuff and so on. So he has a murderous reputation, which means that when he rolls a 6 to hit in close combat, he does mortal wounds as well. And he also has an artifact called the Vox Demonicus, which is basically a really nasty Vox emitter that screws with enemy Vox signals, reducing the aura effect of any enemy characters within 6 inches to a single inch. I haven't discussed command points. With it being a 500-point army, each side has 3 points. I did toy with the idea of the Night Lord putting a unit into reserve, which I may choose to do, but I will do that as part of... Well, I'm following the sequence, obviously, but I will discuss that when I do deployment. So I think what I'm going to do now is roll to see who's the attacker, who's the defender, and who places objectives, and then come back to you with the objective deployment, I think. Okay, so we're deploying objectives. The Night Lords won the roll to place the first objective. So, obviously, we don't know who's going on what side yet, or who's going to win the first turn roll. But they've elected to put the objective in this building here. Because any buildings are going to be harder for the vehicle to get into. It means only the troops are going to be able to come and get it. Now, what's interesting with placing these objectives is the point about denying your opponent. The Night Lords could have said, actually, we really want an objective in here in the middle section that we can sit on in cover or near cover. But then the Fulminator guy could just as easily have then said, right, well, I don't want these objectives to be in cover, so I'm going to put that there so that it can't, with the 9 inches, you can't actually get it into there. That's what I'm thinking. So, given there are no big patches of dense cover on this side in the deployment zone to go into, I don't think the Fulminator guy, so Fulminator head now, I don't think he cares as much as where it goes in this zone as where the one in the middle is. So what he probably wants to try and do is keep the lines of fire open. Now, what I'd really like to see from a Fulminator point of view is, say, one there and maybe one there, because you've got to have 9 inches between them. Maybe even there and there. Now, the Night Lord guy is just going to shove it in there, if he can, or in there. So, Fulminator wants to try and make it as difficult as possible for that to happen, I think. So I think... but then again, I was going to say I'll put it there, but then the Night Lord could sit on it. So if it goes there, the objective can't be in there, but it could be in there to do the cover. I don't think there's a good way of doing this, you know. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. So let's put it there. So it can't be in, the Night Lord can't be in that building and claiming that objective. Okay, right, I'm a Night Lord again now. Where do I want my... So I have the opportunity to place my opponent's objective. So where do I want... So this is about forcing where he's going to go, or where it's going to be easy for me. Because again, we're assuming... So Night Lord's head now, I'm assuming I get to choose which side it is. See, if I put it, say, here, that means if he's going to sit on it, he's really restricting his lines of fire. But I could maybe drop raptors on it. That'd be a waste of raptors. But then again, it'd be holding his objective. He'd have to come back for it, which means he's not pushing forward. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. So the Night Lord is putting objective 3 there, which means, gosh, it's down to the Fulminator. So what the Fulminator wants is these objectives to be as close as possible to each other. So it's got to be here, hasn't it? That does mean we're not going to use that side of the board much. But if I'm the Fulminator, which I am right now, if it's here, I can get onto that and threaten that, which are the 2 I want. Or I could be pretty close to both of these with the unit. I could get the repulsor onto that one, then get the unit out and onto this one. Yeah, sold. Let's put it there. Right, now let's work out who picks deployment zones and does the go first roll and all that stuff. So tweaked the position of the objective markers just slightly, because just measured up to check that they were both in the centre zone, and they weren't quite. So a little bit of tweaking on that there. Just been flicking through the way strategic reserve rules work for the Crusade missions, which is what this is. I'm basically just going to play the regular reserve rules that are the match play reserve rules. I think that's what I'm playing. I'll work that out in a minute. Rather than... I don't think they're any different, is what I mean to say. I don't think they're any different. Okay, so... we need to work out who's going in which zone. So, the black dice for the Fulminators, red dice for the Night Lords. Who gets to pick deployment zone? The Night Lords do. Right, well, the Night Lords are choosing this side. So, they deploy a unit first after we've done the deciding of what's in reserve and what isn't. So, if there are any interesting decisions to make during deployment, I will come back to you. Okay, not a huge amount to explain. Night Lords dropped first. They want the static unit in the cover, sat on the objective. The only place... So, Fulminators in return have got their unit with all their stuff inside. The only place it would have been clear from line of fire would be on the other side of this building, way away from all the objectives. So this really becomes a bit of a standoff. It's like, right, straight up the gut, the old Death Guard way. Some of the tenets of the old Legiones Astartes still being applicable to the Codex Astartes. So straight in front. Let's see who dies first. Trust in the armour of Mars. Trust in the creations of Belisarius Crawl. Hashtag not a heretic. Hashtag heretic. And in response, the other heretics have gained a bit of cover behind here on the basis that they think all the fire is going to go into there if the loyalists get the first turn. Their plan is to sneak around here onto one of these objectives. You'll notice that the Night Lord's Raptors are absent. They are circling around in the sky. They have... This is a trap that the Night Lords have laid for the Imperium. And on seeing them arrive, they've taken to the skies and are circling and ready to pounce. Or on the other hand, maybe the superior auspexes of the Primaris Marines have known exactly where all these Night Lords are and know exactly what they're doing. Maybe their large armour piece, Matron, is sufficient to the task. This could be over very quickly, or it could become incredibly tactical. The only way to find out is to see who's going first, and I'm now wishing I had picked up a dice before I had started talking. So I'm going to continue to narratey. Black dice for Night Lords. Blue dice for Fulminators. I should really have picked armies that weren't the same fundamental colour. Highest gets to pick. Both sides want to go first, so highest goes first. The Night Lords have turn 1. Okay, so movement is done, and this abandoned hab block area. I don't think I mentioned that at the start. I think, have I not mentioned what part of Archimedes IX we're in? Well, this is the edge of the habitable zone, near the wastelands. So we've still got a couple of hab blocks that are vaguely... Well, I know they're not habitable. There were probably some squatters and lowlives living here before the Night Lords started nailing them up and attracting the Fulminators with their screams. I digress. The rest of the habitation is probably that way. Anyway, so not a lot of movement. The 8th Claw... I should really have the piece of paper. 8th Claw and the Talon Champion, whose name I can honestly remember, have advanced. Good roll from these guys, from the Marines. They got a maximum 12, but were slowed down by the terrain. The Champion, very clever. He snuck around the side, so even with a smaller roll, he's still almost as far. Oh yes. Right, I'm putting off this bit because this could wreck the entire... Not wreck the entire game. This could make it a very short bat rep. one way or another. So conflicted. Really want the Night Lords just to blow up the pathetic tank, but it won't make a very good movie. So I'll disappoint people. I don't want... Oh, so conflicted. Let's just get on with it. Okay. That's movement phase. Done. Psychic phase. Pfft. So now we're on to the shooting phase. They've advanced and there are no assault weapons there, so there's nothing doing there. We just have the main event of the Havocs firing on the repulsor. There is nothing the repulsor can do. It does have auto launchers, but they're only, like smoke launchers, they are only useful if in the previous movement phase if you have activated them. So we have two. Now I did when I was deploying, I did think about putting the Talon Champion with these guys for the reroll to wound. But these are going to be taking on Primaris Marines. They're going to need the reroll. Plus, I need to get him close to their general to shut down his aura abilities. So, and he's a dirty fighter. He wants to... no, he's not a dirty fighter. He's got a murderous reputation. He wants to get in there down and dirty with the Marines. So he's leaving the Havocs to do their thing on the back line whilst he goes forward to slaughter. So, main event, drum roll, 2 last cannons, hitting on 3s. I don't normally do all the rolls, but this feels like I should. Hitting on 3s. 2 hits. Ooh. Okay, toughness 8 of the repulsor. Strength 9, wounding on 3s. No wounds. It's your fault for wanting to go and punch it. You should have stayed here and told them left a bit, right a bit, aim for the tracks. And they go, it hasn't got any tracks, boss. All right, aim for the floaty thing. Then they'd have shot the floaty thing. As it happened, they just hit the front armour. Stupid Havocs. Right, 2 missile launchers. This could be a very short game. 2 missile launchers, hitting on 3s. 2 hits. Wounding on 4s. Just watch, you'll get 3s now, where the last cannons couldn't. Wounding on 4s. 1 wound, -2 to the save. Save of 5 up. Saves. And the Night Lords do nothing. No charges, no melee, no morale, no points scored in turn 1, because you can't score the objectives in turn 1. We are on to Fulminators turn 1. So, Lieutenant Feldor has played his cards, and his strategy is thus. The intercessors have jumped out and are sitting on their home objective, but they can put clear fire down to those advancing heretics. So there's going to be some steady advancing in a minute to get a whole load of shots into those guys. Sadly, it's not the tactical doctrine at the moment. We are still in the heavy doctrine. But whilst we are in heavy, he has remained in the repulsor to lead the forward advance. And with a maximum move, the repulsor... It's just occurred to me, I've assumed it moves 12 inches. 1 minute. With a maximum move of 10 inches, it's not quite on the objective this turn, but will be in future turns. And it has 1 goal and 1 goal only. Take out the threat. And we are in the Devastator tactical doctrine. Devastator thing. The thing. Devastating. There's some devastating going to happen. And yeah, the Havocs are most definitely the target. Now, he is at risk in there on his own. If there's an explosion, he could be a casualty, but he can equally hop out onto one of these objectives and put some close fire down if he needs to, maybe even using the lie of the tank to shield him. Now, the Fulminators know that there are some heretics nearby, but they have strong auspexes, and they are relying on those to see them through. So, let's do some shooting and see what happens. So, the unit of intercessors spending a command point on steady advance, giving them double shots, or shoot as if they'd stood still. Gave them a total of 10 shots. In response, the Night Lords declared... The Night Lords declared in Midnight Clad, being all sneaky and stealthy and sticking to the shadows in the way that only Night Lords do. with rerolls for Bolt of Fusillade, a total of 7 hits, which have translated to 5 wounds. So, 5 4-up armor saves for the Night Lords. And, okay, well, their armor save is a lot better than their shooting. So, that resulted in nothing. So now it's turn for the Repulsor. It is the turn for the Repulsor to open up on those Havocs. So, we've had las cannon bolts, we've had onslaught cannons, we've had solid slugs of lead, we've had explosive grenades, we've had fragmentation grenades, we've had anti-aircraft guns firing wildly at the lack of anti-air. And the result is thus. Now, as per my house rules, multiple strategies can be used in the same turn, and multiple modifiers stack. So, these guys used in Midnight Clad to try and defend themselves, taking them down to 2 command points, which prevented a number of hits. However, we have 1 save to take from a las cannon, which is -3. This doesn't give us any extra cover, so that's a save of a 6, except it's turn 1, and the Devastator Doctrine is in effect. Dead Havoc. These are saves from an Onslaught Cannon, which is normally -1. However, Devastator Doctrine, these are now -2. This provides no additional cover, so these are saves of 5 up. So, how will the Havocs fare? Oh, drum roll. Okay, so the Havocs saved 2. Good for them. And lost 3. So, dink, 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 dink. Leaving a solitary las cannon. Not looking good for the Heretics. No charges. No points scored this turn. No morale. Oh yeah, there's morale. He lost 4. D6. Do I want him to be insanely brave? Well, hang on, let's work it out. He lost 4. His leadership is 7. So, yes, I think for 2 command point. Oh, but what do I want to use the command points for next turn? Ooh. Well, I'm going to want to do a Raptor Strike. That's for certain. Interesting. I think I'm going to roll the dice and take the chance. Don't know how I'm going to kill that thing without it, but it's going to take him multiple turns to kill it. It would definitely take him multiple turns to kill it. It's not even wounded. It's not like he's been taken down a few wounds. Most he can do is 6. That's got sort of 18 odd. No, 16. It'd take him 3 turns to kill it. I don't think we're killing the Repulsor. I think we're hiding from the Repulsor. I think we're going to roll the dice and take the chance. So, 1 to 3. He's safe. 4 or more, he runs. He's safe. Foolish? Sensible? Oh yeah, there's points. Didn't think of that. Definitely wanted him to pass. Should have spent the points because of the objective. Oh, and it can go and get the thing in the... No, can it go in there with the building? But there's a dude in there who can go in the body. Oh, don't know. Turn 2, quickly. Okay, so it's the end of the movement phase for the Night Lords. So, what has happened and why? Well, the Havoc has moved forward to here to try and make it as difficult as possible for an infantry model to get past him, because he can't pass within an inch of him if he's going to do it. And they have a stabilising system on them. Somehow, they must have bought it from an Iron Warrior or something. So he can still fire to full effect. So he's still going to threaten the Repulsor. It's going to give the Repulsor something to think about. It's going to have to put some fire into it if it doesn't want to have to keep taking las cannon shots each turn. 8th Claw have just moved, and it's taken them into range of that objective. So they are going to have that next turn unless the Fulminators can push them off. And that is an OBSEC unit. So unless they're dead, they should be able to hold that. Being dead is not impossible. Of course, he would have loved to have been in that building holding the objective, which is where the tactical decision of the Fulminator player to put that objective there so that no one could be in that building holding it is important. So, the Bloodied Maw, and specifically the Bile Drinkers, have dropped in back here to have a go at this unit of Intercessors. And they've specifically, when they've finished their charge, assuming they're all still alive and stuff doesn't go horribly wrong, which it might in a minute, that dice signifies an Auspex scan, but we'll get to that in a sec. They'll be in the lie of these obstacles to the repulsor. So if they're dead, because they're going to get fire in a minute as well, if they're dead or seriously depleted, the repulsor is going to have to move to be able to target them. So that's the thinking anyway. Don't know how that's going to work. But for now, Auspex scan. So these guys... Oh, sorry. Terribly remiss of me. If they're Auspex scanning, they should be pointing in the direction of the thing that they're shooting at from the Auspex. Look, he's even got an Auspex on his gauntlet. It's like it was planned. It wasn't planned. It totally wasn't. But you think I can think that far ahead? I cannot. No, that way, mate. That way. Yeah, there you go. Right. So they can shoot at them now using Auspex scan. They are at -1 to hit, so they're hitting on 4s. However, with Bolt of Fusillade, they're still jumping away from me. The dice don't want to play. So, still re-rolling 1s. So, hitting on 4s, re-rolling 1s. Don't know why I'm filming this instead of just doing it. 2 1s, re-roll. Now I've knocked over a raptor. I should come back to you with the armor saves, but I'm kind of committed now. So that is a lot of hits. Wounding on 4s. Oh, I could have been cladded them. I totally could have done that. Ho hum, live and learn. Only 2 wounds, which is good for those guys, bad for those guys. And big positive for these is their turn. They're interrupting, so I'm on their side at the moment. We are, however, in battle round 2, which means the tactical doctrine is in effect. So these are -2, so they're going to punch through. They're going to save on 5s rather than 3s. Oh, 1 saves. So 1 dies. It can be you who I just knocked over by mistake. So 1 dead. That could have been a lot worse. So let's do some shooting. So in reply, the Raptors fired all their pistols, including a plasma pistol in. Plasma pistol did nothing, and the others either missed or bounced off the armour. Then looked up the table to 8th Claw and realised there's only 3 guys with guns who are in range, who are still breathing in and out. 2 bolters bounced off. However, 1 of the autocannons hit the mark, took out the armour, and being a 2 damage weapon, killed 1 of them. So that one... Oh, hang on. No, he's got the grenade launcher. We'll kill him instead. Killed that one. So, we are now on to the Lascannon Havoc. Remaining Lascannon Havoc shooting at the Repulsor. Hitting on a 3. Hits. Wounding on a 3. No. Right then. All the other guns are out of range. It must be the charge phase. Okay, so let's go straight into it. We're going to spend a command point on Raptor Strike, giving us 3 dice to roll. This has never been successful. Now. The Fulminators have only got 1 command point, so I could Overwatch, but I'd only hit on 5s. 6s even. If I had 3 command points and I could do the auto-hitting thing, that would be super useful, but I don't. Do I want the Overwatch? I think I do want to do the Overwatch. I'm going to do that off camera, though. Overwatch all missed. 3d6 to get in. They've never managed to make it in, this unit. Let's see how they do now. It's a 9-inch charge. 3, 6, 11. 3, 6, yes, 11. They make it in. Movement time. Okay, so after all the attacks, with the rerolling to wounds with the lightning claws, with death to the False Emperor, we have some saves to take. 2 from lightning claws at -2, and 5 from chainswords at -1. Of course, in a couple of months, those chainswords will be -1, and the Marines will have 2 wounds as well, as we learned yesterday. I cannot wait for the battlefield to be levelled and the first generation of Astartes to be less just totally overshadowed by the Primaris Marines. It is going to be awesome. But for now, 2 at -2. 2 failed. That's 2 wounds. And then 3 up saves. 1 failed. So 1.5 die. So in response, the Primaris Marines have done 4 wounds. So there are 4 saves to take for these Raptors of 3+, and they fail 3 of them. Okay, so it's morale time. The Fulminators are leadership 8. They've lost 2 models, but also they're within within 6 inches of a unit with terror tactics, which is a -1. And they're within 6 inches of some Raptors as well, which is -2. So their leadership currently goes down to 6 because of those 2 penalties. They've lost 2. Let's roll and see how they do. Okay, what's that? 2 and 2, 4, safe. Okay. No need for them to know no fear, because they already know no fear. Now, the Raptors, they've lost 4. Their leadership is 8. I have considered paying the points to keep them on the table, but I'm going to roll the dice and take the chance. Anything but a 6. 5's not great either, but anything but a 6. Why did I say that? 3, they're safe. Okay, and so ends Fulminator's turn 2. Now let's... Night Lord's turn 2 even. Let's see what the Fulminators can do in response. Okay, so it is turn 2 for the Fulminators. And the Repulsor... The Lieutenant jumped out the Repulsor. The Repulsor has moved on downfield. The Lieutenant has followed up onto that objective, thus securing it. He's going to put fire down into these Marines, start to whittle them down, and the Repulsor is going to put everything, absolutely everything, at that Havoc, because that will take the traitors off their objective for next turn. Yes, it will. Sorry, I paused for a second because I just realised I didn't count up the points for the Fulminators at the start of their command phase, but it's 5 because they had the 1 objective, which is less than their opponent. Yes, 5. Okay, so we're going to do some shooting. We'll unload the Repulsor into that poor Havoc and see what happens next. Okay, so there was excessive use of In Midnight Cloud again. It was his only chance, but it was a forlorn hope. He got clipped with an onslaught cannon round. He was missed by the last cannon, but then the onslaught cannon killed him, and everything else will have landed onto his still twitching corpse. I mean, onto his body that's disabled and removed as a casualty, but obviously not a corpse, because, that would make the rest of the games kind of tricky. The Lieutenant, again, firing through dense terrain, -1 to hit. In Midnight Cloud, used again. Failed. Got a couple of wounds. Got a couple of hits, but failed to wound. So those guys having a lucky escape from those super powerful rounds from the Bellicose bolt rifle. We've had 3 bolt pistols go into the Raptors, resulting in 1 save. Can the Raptor hold? Yes. Okay, so removing the casualties. Dead pile already getting pretty large, as opposed to the Fulminator dead pile. Are we spotting a pattern here? Right, so it is the Night Lords to fight first, because there were no charges. I'll come back to you with the saves, should there be any. 1 Lightning Claw save at -2. Might be able to clip that guy off. Yep. He goes down. And in response... 2 3+ saves for the Raptors to take. 1 passed, 1 failed. Sucks to be you. Okay, so morale is a thing again. The Raptor can't fail because he only lost one this time, but these guys are still within an inch of a unit with terror tactics. And it's still a Night Lord, so that's -2, -3. So, leadership of 8 with -3. 5 and 3. So 6. A 6 will do it with a reroll, so not terribly likely, is it? No, they're all good. So that is the end of... Oh, now they won't consolidate in because that'll pull them off the objective. So let's not do that. That's the end of battle round 2. So as I am placing my casualties in the dead pile, interestingly, if you just do it on models, the Fulminators have only got 5, 6, 7 models, and there's 3 of them dead. The score is 5-all, but it is going to be interesting in turn 3. And now, at the start of turn 3, do I stay in the tactical doctrine? Because the tactical doctrine is giving me the extra APs on the bolt rifles and not a lot else. Actually, on the grenades, I suppose. Most of these are heavy weapons. I think I'm going to move into the assault doctrine because there's still an ongoing fight there. Yes, we'll move into the assault doctrine. Yes, that's the thing we'll do. We will do that. Okay, Night Lords turn 3. So it's the end of the Night Lord's movement phase in turn 3. And things have taken an interesting turn. Talon Champion Vinkov has decided that he wants to pull that to pieces. These guys are veterans of the Long War, and they intend to humble that baby, that machine, that untried, untested pattern that has appeared from nowhere. In all honesty, there aren't a huge amount of choices. There was an awful lot of fire going to come down into them, and all they were going to do is start hiding around the corner from it. So they've either got to kill it or be killed. So, okay, we've got a power fist in there, and a bunch of and a chain axe, and a couple of other things. Can it be done? Are these the things that anti-heroes are made of? Well, we'll find out. The Raptor did not fancy his chances of being punched first by those two. So he's jumped onto that objective. He'll probably get shot and killed, but someone will actually have to put fire into him. And there aren't that many units. And that repulsor will at least not be firing next turn once it gets assaulted, assuming they all don't die. Also, actually, Lieutenant... I've left the other sheet over there. The Lieutenant of the Fulminators could consolidate it, could pile in. So this, again, I guess this is the dilemma, really. The Night Lords have to, in theory, when the Night Lords charge, if they come around this side, then they can consolidate this way and get more men in here in range of this objective to outnumber this guy. Although his objective is secured, so are they. So they could potentially outnumber him on that objective and mean that in the next turn, the Fulminators only hold that one objective over here, which they do still hold. But in doing that, they risk his close combat. That said, he's a shooty lieutenant, not a punchy lieutenant. So maybe they don't care about that. But they are going to have to weather the Overwatch from this thing. I had it somewhere in my mind that vehicles couldn't do Overwatch. I've just had a look at the rules. I can't see that. It may be there, but I don't think they can. So, yeah. We're going to shoot that thing, then charge that thing, beat that thing to death, assuming we don't die on the way in. And then, no guts, no glory. Okay, so here is the situation at the end of the charge phase. So, the incoming gunfire found a chink in the armour and took off a wound with a plasma pistol during the shooting phase. They got a reasonable roll, did the Night Lords, for the assault, but had to take 2 off it for the repulsor field and piled in down this way to slam into the tank side on. The Onslaught cannon took out 2 in Overwatch, and then Lieutenant Feldor, not looking over my shoulder, Lieutenant Feldor has piled in. So the Marines have no command points to interrupt. So we are on with the Night Lords. The Night Lords units attacking. So it doesn't matter which order I do them in. I'll do them both at once. The Night Lords are going to put Veterans of the Long War on the unit of Marines, but I'm not also going to put it on the Champion. I wish it were one unit, but it's not. In fact, no one. If it were First Claw, I'd spend the points and put it on all of them, if that makes sense. But it's not. It's a unit of Marines being led by some other dude. So yeah, they are veterans of the Long War for this. So let's do some rolling of dice. Okay, so 8th Claw have done pretty good. With the veterans giving them +1 to wound, the chain axe was wounding on 5s, and the chain swords and other weapons were wounding on 6s. With veterans, that's brought it to 4s and 5s. Re-rolling because of the Talon Champion, who has an ability that lets friendly units re-roll failed wounds within 6 inches. We have scored 4 wounds with a chain axe, which is at -1, and 6 wounds at a flat 3 damage, a 3 save. Flat 3 damage? Jibbity whiz. So these are 3-up saves. And fail 1, which snicks another wound off. And then these are a bit better. These are 4-up saves. Fails 3. Ooh, okay, so it's down to 13 wounds, which sounds like a lot, and I'm now realising I entirely forgot Death to the False Emperor. Ho-hum. Right, now it is the Talon Champion's turn. Let's see how he does. Okay, so 4 attacks base +1 for Shock Assault. So 6 attacks with that Power Fist. -1 to hit. I've only just remembered that. So he's only hitting on... Well, what does he hit on? He's a champion. He hits on 2s normally, so he's hitting on 3s. 3s to hit. He can technically do it with all of them. Not terribly likely. So 3s to hit. That's an unfortunate number of 1s and 2s. 2 wounds. Right, strength 8, toughness 8, so wounding on a 4, however... Oh no, he's not veteran, so wounding on a 4 with a reroll. With a reroll... No, just the 1. -2, save the 5 up. Saves it. Okay, that's just some pretty pitter-pattering on the side of the tank. It looked so promising for a moment. Never mind. The tank fights back and scores a disproportionate number of hits. 1 wounds. Yeah, no, and passes the state. I'm going to have to check his profile. I don't know if there's a minus on it. I'll check that in a moment. And I need to go and check the stats for the Lieutenant as well, so I'll do that. So, I sold the Repulsor short. I had an extra 3 attacks. Rolled them. No extra hits. No minus on that one, so that does save. The Lieutenant has 6 attacks with Shock Assault, hitting on 2s. 1 misses. Wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s. No 1s. Regular. Oh no, we're in the Assault Doctrine, so saving of 4s. The Assault Doctrine has killed a Marine. I'll take the one next to him because that seems appropriate. Yep, let's do that. Okay, so at the end of that, yeah, morale. So the Chosen lost 3. Let's roll the dice and work it out. No, they are fine. So that's the end of Night Lord's turn 3. Let's see how the Fulminators are going to respond. I'm not sure what they're going to do. I'll have to think. Okay, so mistakes were made at Night Lord Central. Silly mistakes. So the Repulsor can fall back. The Night Lords do have a stratagem called We Have Come For You, which you can use to stop units falling back. But you can't do it to a vehicle. So the Repulsor's fallen back. Because it has the fly keyword, it can go into that ruin and sit on that objective. Okay, not so bad, I thought. Because what we're going to do here is play We Have Come For You to stop the Lieutenant falling back, and we're going to beat him to death. However, because I removed the nearest casualty, he's not within an inch of them. So he's not currently engaged. So he can happily just wander back over here, be within range of that objective, and shoot them all to death. And over at the Fulminators objective, they have formed a firing squad to try and kill that raptor. Yeah, they'd better do it as well, because if they don't, he'll be flying back over there and having him for dinner in a minute. Because the cult of the bloodied moor, are cannibals, and he is a bile drinker, so he'll be ripping out their gallbladders and supping on the juice inside. Well, no, he won't, because he's going to get murdered in a moment. But, you know. So there's no firing from the repulsor. The lieutenant is most definitely firing, and will probably make short work of what remains of 8th Claw. Then what is going to happen, I don't know. Either way, though, at the start of in the command phase of this turn, the Fulminators outnumber the Night Lords on objectives, so they have gained an extra 5 points and pulled into the lead. Okay, so not a lot of shooting to do, so let's do it straight away now. The Bellicose Bolt Rifle is an Assault 4 weapon. So into these guys, he hits on 3s. And because it's a bolt weapon, he rerolls 1s. Doesn't need to, they have all hit. It is strength, I want to say 5. Yeah, not professional. Yeah, strength 5. So it's wounding on 3s. Rerolling 1s because lieutenant, but no 1s. -1, even though it's an assault weapon, because we're now in the assault doctrine. So saving on 4s. 2 dead Marines. Do I want the autocannon, or do I want... Probably want the attacks. I'm going to keep the autocannon. No, I'm not. I'm going to get rid of both of them. I'll keep the guy with the silly hat. There we go. Silly hats for the win. Oh, but they both had silly hats. Why have I kept that one? Never mind. Okay, and the Fulminator firing squad over there, killing that raptor. Hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. Ooh, where are we? Don't know why I'm doing this on camera. Reroll that 1. 3 wounds, winning on 4s. No, okay. So no charges, because he wants to stay on that objective. They want to stay on that objective, and they've just fallen back. He will use his auto launchers for smoke. Yes, he will smoke. Morale. Do these Marines run off? Ooh, hang on. 2 died. Leadership. No, they're fine. Roll 6, +2, 8. With the lieutenant, with the champion, they are leadership 8. They are fine. So at the end, casualties back to the casualty pile. At the end of Battle Round 3, the Fulminators have pulled into a 5-point lead. Let's see what, if anything, the Night Lords can do to try and recover. Okay, so Night Lords turn 4. We are in all or nothing gambit stages here, because the Fulminators have lost 3 Marines. The Night Lords have only got 4 Marines left. That repulsor is not staying on that objective with impunity. So the remainder of 8th Claw have moved on to this objective, now capturing it over that lieutenant, because even though he's OBSEC, they outnumber him. So we're going to have pistol fire into this guy, because he's not protected by without lookout sir, because where he is. So he's going to get pistol fire. Overcharging is probably not a thing I'm going to do. I don't think it's however, they then may charge into him depending on how wounded he is. If he's only got a couple of wounds left, maybe they'll do it, which will be interesting, because the Fulminators have only got 1 command point left, and realistically Overwatch is the only thing that they can really do. I can't remember specifically what it says in the rules, but they smoked last turn, so I'm saying he can't Overwatch this turn, because he couldn't shoot last turn. It was in lieu of shooting, so I think he can't shoot this turn. Can't Overwatch. So it's going to be 1 command point either on him overwatching, or on the raptor who's going back for more. It's very unlikely he can pull them off that objective, but what else is he going to do? I suppose he could have stayed on that objective, but that's an extra 5 points if by any chance he can do it. And as it's down, the Fulminators are outnumbering at the moment. I guess if he'd stayed there, it would have been tied up. Well, we shall see. Anyway, so we're going to have shots into him, then charges, charges, charges. Yeah, okay, let's see how we go. Okay, so having only suffered 1 wound to fire, the lieutenant elected to take the charge and let the intercessors over here use the command point for Overwatch. Didn't pay off. So the Marines are bereft of command points, so they can't interrupt. So let's do this thing. So let's try and see if we can tear down. I normally end with the most exciting, but I think they're all kind of important. There's how much can we damage this thing. There's actually, I don't know how close he is to the objective, whether he will actually cancel him out. I'll have to check that. That's an objective decider. That's an objective decider. They're all objective deciders, so I'm going to start with this. So, 5 attacks on the charge. Ooh, Death to the False Emperor. Extra 1, please. Okay, wounding on 3s, that was right. Wounding on 4s with a reroll. With a reroll. 4 wounds at -2, so saves of 5. 1 save, so D3 damage each. 4, 6, 8 damage. Oh my word. Brings it down to 5. Now that's what he was meant to do last turn. Okay. So over here, point goes on veterans. So we have 4 attacks from the leader and 3 from the other guy. So the 4 attacks with the chain axe. Hitting on 3s, not forgetting Death to the False Emperor. Okay, no Death to the False Emperor. Strength 5, would wound on 3s, but veterans wounding on 2s with a reroll. So 2s with a reroll, so that's 2 wounds at -1. Let's take the saves now. So saving on 4s. 2 fails, he's down to 2 wounds. Could it possibly be done? Could the Night Lords drag down this hero of the Imperium? Was it hubris to come here with only 5 men? Oh, we'll find out in a moment. Okay, hitting on 3s with Death to the False Emperor. No Death to the False Emperor. 2 wounds, it can still be done. Wounding on 4s +1 3s with a reroll. 3s with a reroll. No need for the rerolls. So 2 3+ saves. How well will the Armour of Mars hold up? Pretty well. Pretty well. He's good. So over here in Raptor Land, we have 4 attacks. So he can do it. We shall see. Of course, Death to the False Emperor could get lots of attacks. 4 6s would be nice. Let's see. Hitting on 3s. 1 Death to the False Emperor and 1 miss, which converts. So that's 4 hits. Wounding on 4s with a reroll for Lightning Claws. Need the reroll. 2 wounds. 2 at -2. So 5 up saves. 1 wound. Okay, and that wound will go on the sergeant because he's the furthest one away from the objective. So, now the reprisals. So, the intercessors fighting back, hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s, -1, so saving on 4s. It was a long shot, but he goes down. Now, the lieutenant, can he take down these 2 remaining traitors? These 2 filthy, rotten heretics. Hitting on 3s. Wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s. Reroll that 1. We're in the assault doctrine, so -1. So saves on 4s. Kills a Marine, 1 stand. So they now tie on that objective for the start of next turn. The repulsor has, I think, 3 attacks at this point, hitting on 6s. 1 wound, 1 save. Okay, so now I need to see how far he is from that objective. So he is within 3 inches of the objective, which means it ties it up. Okay, so the killing of that traitor marine there was quite significant, because that has meant that this objective's a tie, that objective's a tie, which means the one in the Fulminators deployment zone is still held by the Fulminators, which means they control more than their opponent, putting them an extra 5 points into the lead. It's not looking very achievable now for the Night Lords. So what the Fulminators have done is these 2 Marines have moved over here to try and shoot this to death when the Lieutenant falls back but still in range of the objective. However, the Night Lord guy has played We Have Come For You, preventing him from falling back. So they are just stood there trying to get a shot, but he is not able to disengage. The repulsor's got to stay there to contest the objective, otherwise the Night Lords will have it at the start of their turn. Now, admittedly, he may get punched to death in a moment, but even if he fell back a bit and stayed within range of the objective, he would be able to consolidate in. He'd be able to pile in the thingy phase, and he would get a charge on it the following turn. Which, or is that the right thing to do? Should I actually pull it back? Should I actually pull it back? If I pull it back, the objective will be contested either way. There's no way I can pull it back and have the objective and the Night Lord guy not have it. I can't shoot. The only thing I would actually be doing is inviting a charge, which would give him an extra attack. But then again, I wouldn't be dead this turn. And not being dead this turn is important. What would the pilot do? What would the lieutenant say to the pilot? Hold your ground. Hold your ground. And I'll be honest, I think it's a bit gamey just pulling it back a couple of inches to disengage from the lunatic and stay on the objective, because they're fighting over that objective. I see this sort of spinning around, trying to get guns on him, and him ducking and diving and punching and ripping and tearing. And it's only a game mechanic that says he could pull back and then he wouldn't engage. So I'm not going to do that. That is the fight that's going on. It'll either survive... Oh, I've picked up the... Oops. I've moved its damage dice. I think it had 5 wounds left. It had 5 wounds left, I remember. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay on the objective, hold it fast. The lieutenant is saying, you hold that objective. You hold this zone. You keep it long enough for me to kill this heretic, and I will be there. We will kill that thing. Although... Oh. Right, so what I could actually do is the repulsor could disengage and we could get fire from down here. Is that a more realistic thing to do? I'm going to quadruple. I know, I will let the dice decide. So either on a 1 to 3, the repulsor will pull off so that incoming fire, because he can't get away, he'll say, shoot that one, shoot that one. Or 4 to 6, he's giving orders saying, you hold fast, you hold that objective, you do not give ground. You do not give ground to the traitors. And I've just remembered the traitors are my preferred enemy. I should have been rerolling to hit all game. Damn it. 1 to 3, he falls back. He falls back. In which case, the shooting is a pistol into this guy, which hits and wounds, but doesn't kill him. And then we have 2 rifle shots into that guy. How many wounds does he have? We're going to spend the last command point on steady advance to put 2 shots into to count as having stayed still. Will we do that? I've said it now. So one of them's getting 2 rounds in, but the other one's putting a crack grenade in because he has still got the underslung grenade launcher. So crack grenade. Misses. Never mind. 1 hit, 1 miss with the bolt gun. Doesn't wound. Okay, that wasn't brilliant. Right, so it must be the fight phase. Let me check the rules on piling in with that guy and when I can do that and how close I have to be. Does he have extra range or is that the other thing? I think that might be the other thing. Either way, no, let me check that now. No, nothing of the sort. It's the other guy, the Master of Executions, who gets the extra pile-in goodness. Although he does get bonuses against characters, so next turn maybe... No, he's got to get that. There's 2 models, only 2 objectives. Anyway, so the remaining guy from 8th Claw, who has been a bit of a hero in the game so far. Anti-hero. Veterans? No veterans. Hitting on 3s with Death to the False Emperor. Alright, it's because I called him a hero, wasn't it? That's just the dice gods telling me where to go. Okay, so that's it for Fulminators turn 4. We're now on to Night Lords turn 5. Let's jump straight into it. How many objectives do they hold? None. Yeah, definitely the right thing to do, pulling back there, because he's contesting that objective. It's 1 model each. Ordinarily, that'd be well outnumbered on an objective like that, but 1 model each. And because of his Warlord trait, that's a great Warlord trait to take. Because of his Warlord trait, he has stopped him holding that objective 3 times. 3 times. So no more points for the Night Lords. So now, I think we're on to Spite. Yes, let's see just how spiteful we can be to these Marines in the dying turns. Yeah! Spite, spite, spite. Okay, no guts, no glory. Pistol. Overcharge. Let's have him. So indecisive. If it was a 1, he'd die. If it was a 3 or more, he'd probably die. But a 2? A 2? Plasma pistol into him, not overcharging. Because you'll rather punch it to death. You see, that's what you should have done. Wounding on wounding on that. Minus a lot. 3 up, minus 3. Yeah, that gets it. That's takes it down to 4. Right, I'm going to pull its engine out. It's got no command points to do the thingy thing. That's in. Dink. 5 attacks. Come here, you little mechanical upstart. 2 Death to the False Emperors. I'm liking this. Okay. Wounding on 4s with a reroll. Am I pointing at the dice? No, I'm not. With a reroll. Yeah. Okay, saving on 5s. No, that's 5 damage. Yeah, it's dead. Does it explode? It does not. You can make it explode for 2 command points, but I don't have any. So we have actually taken this down. And we will consolidate that way a little bit. Holding our own objective. A little bit of pride restored. Little bit of pride restored here. Okay, the Lieutenant goes first. Yep, that's right. Lieutenant goes first. Hitting on 2s. No, 3s even. 3s. There's only 1 hit. Wounding on a 4. Saving on a 5 up. Surely he can do it. He can indeed. Now it's his turn to go back at him. And for the last time, Veterans of the Long War. Let's do it. 1 hit. Oh, not enough. Wounds. Gets through his armour. Takes him down to a wound. Close but no cigar. Okay. That means it is now the Fulminators Battle Round 5. Fulminators have 1 objective. That's contested. Night Lords have 1. That's 5 points for the Fulminators. He could fall back, but he can't fall back and shoot. So what are we going to do? Are we going to try and punch him to death? No, look at that. We're not going to try and punch him to death. We're going to fall back over here, and these guys are going to shoot him. Stay stationary. So 2 shots with the rifle, 2 hits, 1 wound, -1. Shoot him, sir. In the back, sir. Now, sir. Now. And the crack grenade hits, wounds, saves. He's angry. Still contested. And that is the end of turn 5? Have I got that right? Yeah, it was no points for Night Lords. And then 5 points for the Fulminators. Oh, I've not been keeping up with my admin. I tell you something, the fact that the points are scored at the start of the turn really, really makes it difficult to keep track of everything. Okay, so it is an emphatic victory for the Fulminators. They have swept and cleared the Night Lords from this sector. So it might not look like it with 2 models left on the board. He's a legend, he is. He keeps on surviving. He's great. And he survived quite a long time last time as well. It might not look like it at the moment, but the Fulminators have held the ground for long enough to send appropriate Vox messages, allow triangulation of signals. The Fulminators are strong in this area, and they are able to press the Night Lord's lines as a result. But the crucial question in this part of Archimedes IX is this a view that's being replicated across the line as we speak, or are the other elements of the Night Lords faring better? We'll only know when we have seen parts 2 and 3, how this goes across the theatre of war, and what is going to happen next as a result. So on that happy note, I will bid you all farewell and see you in the next one. Bye for now.